news online. Let's take a look at the stories making headlines tonight. Former IEBC CEO James Oswago cries foul as Hassan shifts focus on 2017 polls. School Arson Probe Committee to present report in 30 days. 5 ISIS terror suspects charged in Mombasa court. Welcome, my name is Jesse Rogers. Former IEBC Chief Executive Officer James Oswago has claimed that he is being targeted as a scapegoat in the Chicken Gate scam. Oswago says he didn't finalize recording his statement with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and is shocked that he is among the 4 key suspects whose cases have been forwarded to the Director of Public Prosecutions, Kiriako Tobiko.
The chicken is gradually coming home to roost as fresh revelations continue to trickle out as pertain to the Chicken Gate scam. Today, the ex-IEBC CEO James Oswago lifted the lead in what he terms as an attempt to use him as a scapegoat. Oswago now says the EACC erred in listing him as a key suspect in the multi-billion shilling scam.
Up till now, I have not given a statement to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, apart from the initial one which we started recording but stopped in the process. They cannot, therefore, within the law, purport to recommend to the Director of Public Prosecutions to undertake any action on a process which they themselves have not completed.
It's a calculated scheme to use him as a scapegoat so that all the blames and errors of judgments and mistakes of IEBC are heaped on him.
The former electoral body has revealed that he has not finished issuing his statement to the EACC officials.
My own suspicion is that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is either A, desperately trying to shield some individual within itself or outside itself, or trying to divert public attention from some other matter.
He argues that there was a calculated plot to hold him culpable for all that went wrong in the 2013 general election, since Auditor General Edward Oko, who was given the mandate to investigate a 4 billion procurement matter by Justice Lenaola, did so without looking at key people of the procurement management.
It's a basic audit procedure that where an individual is likely to be adversely mentioned, they are afforded the opportunity to look at adverse or likely adverse allegations against them. They are afforded the opportunity to respond. It is only after that that the Controller and Auditor General can write a definitive and final report.
On Tuesday, the EACC exonerated electoral body chairman Isaac Hassan from corruption allegation in the Chicken Gate scandal. Isaac, now through a statement to newsrooms, has urged politicians and other stakeholders not to interfere with the preparation of the 2017 election polls. The 2 directors of the British company, Smith and Usman, have been jailed and further asked to pay a fine of $244 million for allegedly giving a bribe of $54 million to receive a lucrative tender to supply BVR kits. Former Chief Executive Officer of the Independent Electoral and Boundary Commission, James Oswago, having stated that he will not be used as a scapegoat in the Chicken Gate scandal, now the Director of Public Prosecution, Kiriako Tobiko, has been left the task of unveiling the real mastermind of the scandal. But until then, the issue remains unknown. Ali Mwangi, KUTV, Nairobi.
From the Chicken Gate scandal, we now take a look at the education sector, where school arson cases have hit 71 following the torching of dormitories at Mohoho Boys High School in Gatobo. Nandi High and Rudhimetu Secondary in Gudagoreti. The three schools witnessed the arson attacks last night under unclear circumstances. Meanwhile, the Special Investigation Committee set up to probe arson in schools has been given 30 days to submit a report on the incidents which are raising concerns. A statement signed by Education Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i and his Interior Ministry counterpart Joseph Ngaiseri indicated that the report should clearly outline measures to reduce cases of unrest.
Behind me is the aftermath of what was once a home to some students, and within 15 minutes, it was burnt down to ashes.
Call it a ghost or a demonic storm sweeping across the education sector, the unprecedented cases of school unrest are just more than enough. The country's education development is simply on a retrogression slide. Not even the concerted efforts by the top policy makers in the sector seem to give them a solution. Last night, 3 dormitories of 3 separate schools joined the growing list of facilities that have been reduced to ashes. To this effect, learning at Memorial Boys High School in Gatundu, Malindi High School, and Dagorety's Rwithiritu Secondary School has just been hampered. According to the Rwithiritu principal Michael Owaru, the cause of the fire is unknown and that the investigations are still going on.
How that their dome was on fire. We did our best because at that time the fire was not that much, but before we could get in, it had already become a big fire, and we did our best. We were able to put off the fire. Fortunately, there were no casualties, but the boys have lost a lot of their personal items. They have lost beddings, anything that they had in their boxes, they lost them. We are still having a meeting with the BOM executive so that we try to establish what was the cause of the fire.
Deputy South MP Dennis Waweru visited the school and affirmed that the other leaders have been saying about the school unrest.
I want to call upon the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Interior to ensure that they get to the root cause of this. We want to know. It cannot be a coincidence that a number of schools across the country, this mass is happening. We want to ask Matiang'i. We want answers.
Meanwhile, Kilifi County Commissioner Joseph has urged every teacher to have 10 students under him or her to provide some guiding and counseling sessions to ensure the students are not misled.
Hiyo unaona ishara ya mtoto wako akiwa na namna ya kutoa mambo ya violence. Ni vizuri muwe mnawasiliana pamoja na wakuu wa shule.
This he said in relation to the arson case reported in Malindi High School dormitory was razed down last night, and the list is similarly growing. Is it high time the government banned boarding school? Let's save the conservation for another time. I'm Masharia, KUTV.
There is some devastating news. Moving on, Odon leader Raila Odinga has urged Western Kenya residents to vote for the Orange Party, arguing that their interest will be best protected under his leadership. Raila, who is in a mission to stem the brewing disloyalty in Western region, was today in Budalangi, Ababalanga's home turf. He told the residents that the government is doing little to solve the standoff in Migingo Island. According to Raila, President Uhuru has met Museveni, yet he has not been able to talk to him about the issue. The ODM party leader told the residents that he welcomes Ababalanга back to the party. He urged them to back him up come next general election, since he has their development concerns at heart. Now on to a sad note, President Uhuru Kenyatta has urged Kenyans to regularly undergo medical tests so as to detect major ailments early enough. Speaking at Kanagut in Uasin Gishu County during the burial of the Deputy President's younger brother, President Kenyatta said early screening of cancer and other major diseases remains key to containing them. Harrison Kipto, Ruto's brother, passed on Saturday night while undergoing treatment at the Nairobi hospital due to kidney failure. The late was described as a strong and hard-working person who loved his friends and family.
Ngependa kwa siku hii wakati tunawasindikiza huu ndugu wangu, waambie wote tafadhali tufanye kujua vile mambo yetu yalivyo, tuende hospitali tutafute usaidizi wa madaktari.
Na kwa hiyo tunakuja hapa kuwa pamoja familia sawa wa Uasin kwa sababu ya kupoteza kijana Harrison.
Mimi mnajulikana kama familia ambayo inaamini Mwenyezi Mungu. It's a religious family, a family that believes in God. And you will take this as part of the destiny God has planned for all of us and for this family.
Kama marafiki wa jamii kuja kuleta rambirambi zetu, pole zetu kwa kumpoteza kijana wao Harrison.
On behalf of the KUTV team, we wish the Deputy President's family all the best as they buried their brother. 5 ISIS terror suspects linked to last November's Nali barrack attacks have been charged in a Mombasa court. The 5 were charged with robbing 2 police officers' rifles, which were loaded with 20 rounds of ammunition. Just a few months after Kenyan authorities uncovered a terror cell of extremists linked to the Islamic State group, who are suspected to be planning a biological attack in the country and recruiting university students, a Mombasa court has charged 5 suspects in relation to the terror group. The suspects are accused of robbing police constables Ibrahim Hamisi and Simon Machudo 2 G3 rifles worth 115,000 shillings. The suspects, who are still facing past criminal records, may be returned to court if the application by the prosecution is anything to go by. They are further accused of holding a meeting in preparation to launch a terror attack at an unknown place within the country. Well, following that story about terror, we'll now take a very short break here on KUTV News Online. We'll be back with much more to inform you. Do stay with us. Welcome back to KUTV News Online. At least 34 people are reported to have disappeared in the past 2 years during counter-terrorism operations in Nairobi and the northeastern. In a report released by Kenyan Human Rights Watch, the disappearance is linked to multi-agency security operations targeted at persons suspected to have links with the armed Islamist group Al-Shabaab. Cases of extrajudicial killings have continued to be on the rise despite the concerted pressure on concerned authorities to bring them to an end. Certainly, the hit is greatly being felt by perceived terrorists.
And I want to tell our president that he has a legacy. If he wants his legacy to be that people disappear, and to be that, you're never found, then he has a history to tell.
The group is calling upon President Uhuru Kenyatta to constitute a commission of inquiry to investigate the matter deeper and recommend disciplinary action against those culpable.
By all means,
institutions like IPO are trying to do what they can, but they won't be the answer if the government doesn't step in. And that's why we see acknowledgement by the president, condemnation by the president, and establishment of a commission inquiry by the president as an indication of where the civilians who matter stand on this oversight.
We probably need a commission of inquiry to look at all these cases across the country so that we can even just be able to know how many people exactly have disappeared.
They further argued that the existing institutions have argued to conduct a meaningful inquest as required by law. The concern for the missing 34 is compounded by at least 11 cases in the past 2 years in which bodies of previously arrested people were found. Activists from the Human Rights Watch sought to know the truth and interviewed over 100 people in Nairobi and in the northeastern counties of Garissa, Wajir and Mandera. As more than 71 schools have had their dormitories razed down by fire following students' unrest in several parts of the country, a section of vulnerable students in Beta constituency of Homa Bay County have benefited from a new dormitory worth 19 million shillings funded by a USA-based donor. This noble project was prompted by the need to address poverty, school dropouts, and effects of student migration in the local fishing community. James Kennedy, representing the donor, disclosed that 120 capacity accommodation facility will be expanded in future. Mariam Mujahid with the story.
This could not have come at a better time when students in Beta constituency of Homa Bay County were in the need of school accommodation facilities to ensure that they were in school all the time. Excitement and heightened activity have hit the vulnerable students of Gethsemane Garden High School in Fangano Island in Homa Bay County as they were handed over a new dormitory worth 19 million, which was funded by US-based donor. Area Deputy Governor Walton Orata congratulated the church donor for his efforts, saying that it will go a long way in alleviating the students from the accommodation woes. The school's founder Nathan challenged the national government to establish low-cost school and upgrade education standards through administration of National Commission on Nomadic Education.
To see their children succeed, to succeed.
Representing the US-based donor at the launch, James Kennedy said the students as future leaders deserve provision of the required physical facilities and spiritual nourishment. The students now can enjoy their sleep at a time when their colleagues in more than 71 schools across the country have had to bear the July cold after their dormitories were raised down in unclear circumstances. Mariam Mujahid, KUTV.
Well, that is good news for those students. Moving on, as the second term of the school calendar draws to a close in 2 weeks' time, parents are readying themselves to accommodate their children who will be home for the August holidays. However, in Bungoma County, elders are preparing for another all-important ceremony held in high regard. Today marked the start on preparations for the rite of passage for the Bukusu, as Bukusu elders perform circumcision traditions that entail sharpening the knife before the cut. The exercise that is set to begin early next month is performed to boys aged between 10 and 16 years.
They are gathered here in the homestead of the chairman of the circumcisers, Mr. Joseph Simon. Theirs today is an intricate ritual known as Wachiba Ukebe, loosely translated as moving from one stage to the other. Is a ritual performed among the Bukusu and the lower community meant to start preparation for the actual circumcision in a month's time. They start by slaughtering chicken, which is then roasted over an open fire in the compound.
Tuko hapa kwa ajili ya kutakasa vile visu ambavyo tutatumiwa kuwatayarisha watoto. Ndivyo tunavyojua katika kaunti ya Bungoma, mwaka huu haswa mwezi wa 8 ni mwaka wa kuwatayarisha na kuwapasha tohara vijana, lakini sherehe hiyo ina mambo yake ambayo yanaheshimika kimila katika jamii ya watu wa Bukusu.
Tunatengeneza pombe ya wimbi Wasee wakikunywa tunaita kama yeku. Halafu tunatengeneza kuku, tunachinja kuku. Tunaita hiyo kuku tunaita enkosia. Yetu inatutengeneza sisi makono yetu iwe safi. Kwa sababu tukienda kazi lazima tufanye sheria hiyo, tunaangalia ndani ya kuku. Vile siku ya leo tumechinja, tumeangalia, tumeonako maneno ndani na ile maneno yenye tumeona hiyo ni siri yetu, hatuwezi tukakuambia wewe.
After they have shared the delicacy with them back on sharpening knives and carrying the circumcisers, the boys are then down the round of Bukusu that will participate in the cut. Bugoma General and Culture Director Augustine Maambi explained how the rituals performed so as to avoid any calamities during the cut.
Hii ni shughuli ni yangu na wengine wenye wamekuja hapa tumemaliza. So umeona watayarishaji wengine wamekuja na vitu hapa. Vile tumeweka pale tumemaliza kila kitu. Ni lazima. Akitoka hapa aenda atayarisha kijana kwa njia safi. Na sisi tunaomba tu kitu kimoja. Watayarishaji tuwe watu wazuri wasafi. Wenye hawana roho mbaya.
More than 10 boys from Bukoso and Tachoni sub-class of Luya aged between 10 and 16 years from Bugoma, Kakamega and Trans Nzoia counties are set to undergo the practice. Sylvester Musyoki, KUTV.
Well, that is quite an interesting piece by Sylvester Musyoki. Kenya is a place of diverse culture. We'll now take a very short break on KUTV News at 9. I can see it's 20 minutes past the top of the hour. Do stay with us. We have much more lined up for you. In sports, the fourth round of the national circuit will see the toughest rally drivers head down to compete in Town. Multiple rally winner Carl Flash Tendo will be second off the ramp at exactly 7:03 on Saturday when he sets off from Mundani start. Legendary driver Ian Duncan will be the first off the ramp at 7 a.m. in an event which will be staged on 82% private land around Taita County. Duncan will be managed by Amar Slach in a Mitsubishi Evolution 10, which is a group and car. Legendary driver Ian Duncan will be the first off the ramp at 7 a.m. Duncan, who leads group and class, will lead a total of 34 drivers who have signed up for the Mombasa Motor Club organized tour. This weekend, Rally meets up the fourth round of the 8th leg 2016 Kenya National Rally Championship. The rally will be flagged off outside KCB Mundani branch at 7 a.m. on Saturday.
And then drop down to Mwatate and carry on into Maungo, where they will do the 6 stages and finish there. The Mundani rally is, I will say, one of the most enjoyable yet tough rallies. I think first and foremost we're very excited to be down at Vilnius KCB. It's going to be a great rally. I think quite a fast rally. And Mombasa Motorsports Club has a knack of throwing you very strange routes. So one moment it could be flat out, the next minute we could be on the roughs. So there's a lot of fun out there, and I encourage all our fans to just come and see for themselves.
Moving over to football, ex-Gor Mahia FC midfield maestro Khalid Auche will at last on Thursday depart for Aberdeen, Scotland for trials. After 3 weeks of long wait, the 2015 Kenya Premier League midfielder of the year runner-up has finally acquired his visit to Scotland, where he is likely to join Aberdeen Football Club in case he passes the trials. After the 2-week assessment, the Aberdeen management will decide on whether to sign the former Tusker and Simba FC midfielder or not, basing on how he will perform. In the meantime, Uganda national Godfrey Wandusimbi has resumed training with Gor Mahia after staying out for over a month now some injuries. Jaja Vali sustained multiple injuries from a motorcycle accident on his way to pre-season training in June. The exciting fullback turned deadly winger Kamara commenced light training a week ago and should hit top fitness in time for mid-tie against City Stars on Sunday. His return is quite timely for Zimbabwe side that has lacked inspiration in the midfield since the departure of Ugandan Khalid Archer, who is on his way to Aberdeen, Scotland for trial.
Well, opportunity on the right flank. Can we get a shot of goal? And that one flashes in front of goal. But it's Jacques Senge. Plays it wide.
Moving over to golf, Tiger Woods has withdrawn from the US PGA and will miss all 4 majors in the calendar year for the first time since his Masters debut in 1995. American Woods, who's 40, has not played tournament golf in New Simonds, Eric Bailey and Henrik Mkhitaryan are among the travelling party, but Zlatan Ibrahimovic has been omitted by United face-off against German giants Borussia Dortmund on Shanghai on Friday before travelling to Beijing to take on Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. New manager Jose Mourinho began his United tenure with a win over Wigan at the weekend with youngsters Wilkin and Andres Pereira grabbing the goals. Elsewhere, FC Barcelona are also gearing up for the season and the team gets the ball rolling with an International Champions Cup match against Celtic on 30th July, 5 days after training at St. George's Park. 4 days later, on 3rd August, Luis Enrique's man faced Premier League champions Leicester City at the Friends Arena in Stockholm, while the final match of this tournament is a mouth-watering affair against Liverpool at Wembley on 6th August.
Els que viatgeu a Granada, ho he comentat a l'inici, però per si voleu apuntar o per si voleu estar atents, en principi no farà falta paraigües. Vingueu tranquils pel que fa a les temperatures, però això sí, amb una jaqueteta, perquè pot refrescar al vespre. Si els que viatgeu a les 5, doncs a partir de les 3 ja estarem a la gespa de l'estadi de los Carmes, al plató.
Manchester United will be facing German giants Borussia Dortmund. I can't choose a side. Obviously, I'm a Manchester United fan. Well, we have come to the end of today's news bulletin. Thank you so much for keeping me company. Join me tomorrow as I inform you more. My name is Jesse Rogers. You have yourself a good night.